Well, good morning, everyone. Special shout out to my friends Scott and Kate, who I have not seen in a very long time. So I went to my hen house grocery store not long ago to shop, as I have for the past 16 years. And I know all the clerks and the cashiers and the folks there, and I know exactly where to find, all the different things I'm looking for. Oftentimes, gummy bears for my wife, or I might be looking for, I know where the little boxes where they put out cookies that they give to the public. It's kind of a special place. They're just the free samples. However, when I went there, it was gone. Both the hen and the house. I was shocked. There was a sense of panic that arose, and I'm just sitting there in the parking lot looking at this giant empty building. And so it really took me a few minutes to kind of process this. And one of the things that I noticed during the processing was that my mind automatically associated this loss with another loss that happened some 20-odd years ago. And probably only a few of you in here will remember this, but I got up one morning and I turned the dial on my radio to my favorite radio station, KY102, classic rock in Kansas City, and it was gone. They had been purchased by some other company that was playing other kinds of music, stuff I didn't even recognize. And again, there I was, in this same state of absolute shock and awe. And so I think it's important to note that the brain made this association. I didn't do it. The brain associates things automatically without you doing it. This is a shout out to the Buddhist idea of selflessness, the selfless nature of existence. So much is happening that we have absolutely no control over. We're not doing it. I know it looks and feels and seems like we are, but a lot of our behavior and speech is based upon conditioned patterns of behavior from things that have happened to us in the past. And again, we're really not doing it. We're just doing something that we think we should be doing or saying, because it's conditioned. It's coming from a pattern. So that's why I wanted to note that. Now, gain and loss in the Buddhist teachings are number 1 and 2 of the Buddhist teachings on the 8 worldly conditions or concerns. They are gain and loss, praise and blame, happiness and suffering, and fame and infamy. Those are the 8 worldly conditions. And today I'd like to talk primarily on loss. With each in-breath and out-breath, we experience gain and loss on a micro level. In every moment, we're experiencing gain and loss. That's a level of presence and mindfulness that can be cultivated. Something else we notice when we cultivate and look at this is that there is a cycle to all these. The cyclical nature of fame and infamy, of happiness and suffering, praise and blame, gain and loss. It's very much a cycle, very much coming and going, arising and falling. And suffering arises when we overlay our own set of rules onto this cycle. What is gained or lost? When it is gained or lost? How we gain or lose it? Look at how the mind wants to play with gain and loss. Oh, I did this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. never really seeing all the conditions and people that help move us to a certain point where we become open or aware of a cycle of gain. And the same way in the cycle of loss, the people we want to blame for this loss, the need to set up a reason for the loss. Thubten Rinpoche, an influential Tibetan teacher, has this to say about gain and loss. This constant yo-yo mind is dependent on external objects and people and leaves us oblivious to how our mind is the actual source of our happiness and misery. Life becomes a battle with the environment and the people in it as we try to be near everything we like and get far away or even destroy anything we dislike. This brings us much grief and suffering because our mind is so reactive to all of the concerns or the 8 worldly conditions, constantly reacting to the rise and fall of each. When we get the praise, we're afraid we're going to lose it. When we get the blame, we get all contracted and withdrawn because someone else is judging us or blaming us, and we wonder why this is happening to us. Constant, all of them. Every day. It's fatiguing. For myself, I am currently aware of a cycle of loss. Not that it's good, bad, right, or wrong, but it's what's showing up in my consciousness, this cycle of loss. So I refer you to the grocery store. And it seems like these cycles have a momentum to them. What's the old saying? Everything comes in threes. There's lots of old pithy quotes about that. But there is a momentum with each cycle until it peaks and falls. So right now I'm aware of a cycle of loss. So my grocery store. Many of you are aware that my wife and I are moving. I have been in this apartment for over 16 years. That's a long time. That's a lot of amassing of stuff, memories, karma, junk. And so I'm going through the process of, there's really a purging to it, because I am aware that I'm moving, and I'm aware that much of this stuff does not need to go with me. So therefore, we have to decide what stays and what goes. And there's a purging to this. Also, my mother, who lives in Olathe, has recently suffered a series of very major health concerns. So the talk today is on this experience of loss, and it has been a fruitful experience. And right there is the seed in the Buddhist teaching: within each loss there is a gain. So this experience that I've been holding space around has been filled with some wonderful opportunities for practice. As my teacher used to say, it's pain that wakes us up. The joy and the gain is lovely, yay, but it's pain that wakes us up. Let me talk more about that. As I was leaving my mother's apartment early this week, after bringing her home from the hospital, I was overcome by sadness, and I experienced a breakdown. But what struck me during the breakdown was the absence of story, the absence of judgment, the absence of commentary around the breakdown. It was truthfully only a bare, raw transformation of energy, a physical expression of sadness. And I want to contrast this because, again, my mind associated this with a breakdown I had some 13 years ago during a very difficult and traumatic divorce. That breakdown was fraught with judgment, story, commentary, blame. How could this be happening? You did this. These other people are involved and they're the enemy. They're to be attacked. I mean, the stories were endless. And this generating of more judgment, story, and commentary fueled the breakdown. And it became intense. And it lasted literally weeks. And it became dangerous to myself and others. It was totally unconscious. This breakdown, I was fully present with it. It was literally the body expressing sadness. I was aware of what was going on. I was not caught. I saw the stories, they came up. Why is this happening to Mom? She doesn't deserve this. Why am I the only one to take care of her? Why are the people at the hospital so mean? All of these stories, I let them rise and fall like clouds in the sky. They simply passed through me. And eventually, the sadness and the physical expression also passed through. This was paradigm shifting. This was huge because I needed to have the experience I had 13 years ago so that I could contrast this experience with it and see the difference in the two. I still experience sadness, loss, sorrow. I still experienced all that, but one I was present with, the other I was totally caught in. I identified with it. It was me. In this, there was only awareness of the emotion, of the feeling, of the transformation of energy. It was beautiful. Joseph Goldstein talks about this awareness of the two different breakdowns. He makes an important distinction between sorrow and grief. Goldstein says, sorrow is a natural response to loss. Grief is an unwillingness to accept what is. This is huge. Sorrow is a natural response to grief. I was participating in life. To loss. Grief is an unwillingness to accept what is. It's a resistance to life. They're night and day. In Buddhism, we make a distinction between pain and suffering. There it is. One is fully present and involved in life. The other is fighting and tearing at the world. It shouldn't be happening. I mentioned that my wife and I are moving. And this week, as I was moving, I was packing up some boxes and looking through old books and photographs and CDs, which you can amass a lot of in 16 years. And again, I became overwhelmed by the overwhelmingness of it all. Can't find my keys. What box are the remote controls in? Oh God, I forgot to call the water softener people and cancel our contract. The list is miles long, and it was overwhelming. And my body experienced a reaction to the overwhelm. And again, my practice kicked in. Spiritual warriors. In the military, they have a saying. When great pressure arises, this is for you, Scott. When great pressure arises, do not rise to the challenge, rather fall to your level of training. I've done this for years in public education. Every month we would have tornado drills, fire drills, intruder drills. And all of these drills are designed so that when great pressure arises, you don't rise to the challenge, you fall into what is now instinct. Fall to the level of your training. This is what we do. When we sit with when we take the one seat and we sit with ourselves, we sit in the fire, we sit with the emotions and the feelings, and we allow them to pass through, versus any form of diversion that you can think of. Drinking, smoking, religion, sex, video games, shopping. Oh, Amazon is really great now. All these forms of diversion, but when we sit with it, we're actually preparing ourselves on a moment-to-moment basis for when life brings to us larger challenges and larger difficulties. If we can stay present when something is disappointing or painful, the next response is to open fully to the experience. Not denying it, not pushing it away, but fully realizing, oh, this is where I'm at. This is what's happening now. What does overwhelm feel like? What does it taste like? What size is it? Does it have a color? Where does it manifest in my body? Curious, playful investigation. This creates awareness of what is happening right now and not being caught up in it, generating story, judgment, and commentary that fuel the fire. Instead, you are the silent, dignified observer, aware of this human experience, participating in this human life, not fighting, resisting, and tearing. When we open to the experience, to pain and disappointment, we can accept it and let it pass through our mind and our heart. The heart was designed to be broken 1,000 times. Once we do this, we can go on with life's journey and not be frozen in place by the pain, worrying about, is it going to happen again? Resenting that it's happening now, or regret that it happened a long time ago. Being frozen in the pain means your past, present, and future become obsessed with this experience that was really just an event. It's not who you are, never was who you are, never will be. The Buddha taught that our job was to see the emptiness of the experience, to see how in our pain and confusion we cling to that which is not lasting by contracting into the disappointment and pain. In this way, we create our own unhappiness. The Buddha taught that we have to actively work to see through this error of identifying with the pain, identifying with the events and the story. We have to see through realizing the nature of mind. And when he says work, what he means is regular meditation, mindfulness practice, study of the Dharma and the truth teachings in all their forms, and Sangha, spiritual community, talking with each other about this human experience, presencing the breakdowns, being there for the joy. In this way, we are better prepared for more challenging encounters. And seeing the truth of the moment, seeing the nature of the mind. Don't cry that it is over. Smile that it happened. All spiritual traditions honor the truth that grows from conscious acceptance of great pain and disappointment. For example, compassion for all suffering, patience for unskillful acts of your own or others, and most of all, loving kindness for the fragility and the mysteriousness of this which we call life. It is in living with this conscious acceptance that the hell of disappointment, pain, and sorrow is transformed into the celebration of life, experiencing all of the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows. In this way, there is no need for hope, because all that is to be honored and cherished is here, now, brilliantly reflected in the quality of your conscious, choiceless attention.